Hello, podcast listener. How's the electronics in your house? Tucker's going to weigh in because he got himself a brand new birthday present. We're going to talk about that and so much more on this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Testing 1, 2. What do you got going on today?
I've got to go play bingo. And then I am going to see Godzilla and Kong because I love big monsters punching each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to get a ham ready.
I really am interested in your sentence. You've got to go play bingo.
Yeah.
Which tells me that you don't actually have a choice in the matter.
I don't.
You are required. This is compulsory bingo.
This is an activity with a group of people, and the activity, I signed up for an activity, and then they chose bingo post my committal.
What was the median age range of this group of people?
It's young.
Oh, then then I wouldn't have seen bingo coming.
So bingo, I wouldn't expect you to know this because I don't think that you're the type of guy who goes out to bingo nights, but this is a huge draw.
Oh, I know.
To get in the young peoples.
I've been to Big Top Bingo once in my life, like on a Wednesday night. That place was so intense. I was like, this is the wrong energy. Like, for me, I don't enjoy this energy of bingo.
And I should be specific. I'm going to bar bingo. So the Big Top Bingo is not the energy that you experience when, like, because it's supposed to be like conversational. It's like going to bar trivia.
Understood.
Right.
Oh, so it's more of a gentle bingo.
I don't know if I'd use the word gentle because when someone yells bingo, there is a pretty communal,
Yep. That's probably the standard candle by which you measure the tension of that bingo session.
Oh, indeed.
Is the groan that comes, the sound that comes out when bingo is uttered.
There's a couple of people who probably wish you unwell, but then they always do this. They're like, hold on to your cards. And you're like, yeah, that dumb lady over there probably dobbed 066. They didn't say, they said 56. Turn up your hearing aid.
The best sound is when the crowd reacts to finding out they got it wrong.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, we're going to continue on for a prize total of $280.
But you also know, okay, someone here is only one space away.
Yes,
probably.
They're close.
Yeah.
Here's the other big problem with bar bingo. You get amounts, but not crazy. So, I mean, one time I remember my sister won like 25. But it's not. It's coffee coming out of your mug. Why is it coming out so? Why is there not enough air
That's just
getting
the way
in?
this one pours.
Oh.
That's the way this one pours.
Needs like a little air hole at the top.
I mean, it's broken too.
Oh.
But I love it.
Do you need a new mug?
I do, but I love it.
Well, okay.
I love this one.
Well,
I do both black coffee in it, and then I also do ice water in it. It's so good. Sorry,
you don't have any room temperature liquids.
Not in between. No, no.
Interesting.
I'll muscle through it if I have to. But
lately, I've been into Crystal Light. Do you ever drink any Crystal Light?
No, I mean yes, and then I went, God, this was a mistake.
So it's sugar free, which is great. It's got caffeine.
Worse.
It's got caffeine in it, so I can still get my little like bump.
Yeah.
And if you double up the amount of fruit punch packets, in fact, Jill is calling it perv juice because when you drink it, you get that kind of like those lips, and she's like, "That's what a pervert would have." Everything's about pervert in our house right now. So, like, that's such a pervert thing. That person's a pervert. And look at this. It's so pervy. And it's probably because we just watched the Nickelodeon Quiet on the Set documentary, which is about perverts.
Yeah. We got off topic. So bingo.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to play bingo. And
4 corners, blackout.
here's the problem with bar bingo, my friend. They get crazy. They're like, it's the crazy kite, which involves a full diagonal, but then the 4 in a corner, and it could be any. And then they're like small picture frame, big picture frame, a 3, a 1, the lucky 7. I mean, they
Many
do
bingos could be had.
right. And then it's like every 5th game is traditional bingo, and I hate that. Why not just make everything regular bingo?
Mm-hmm.
It's needlessly complicated. I remember when we did parking lot bingo for It Takes Two, and we invented parking lot bingo to play during the pandemic. I got crazy, and I was like, first game, regular bingo. Second game, 2 regular bingos anywhere on your card. And then it was a capital I, a capital T, and then a 2. And those were the games we played. And I'm like, why? Why? But we did do something that I thought was kind of fun, where we took our radio DJ-ness, and we made a thing where we played songs, but only like 20 seconds of a song. And then if you had that song on your bingo card, you got to like cut, mark it off. And what was neat about it is you needed multiple generations in your card to identify all the songs, right? So like, sure, you get that it's Baby Shark with this, right? But you might not know that this particular track is Beyonce's Texas Hold'em if you also know that this other one is Edison Lighthouse's Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes. So it was kind of a fun thing, like for everyone in the car, like you wanted enough. It's like stacking your trivia team, right?
Yeah.
Like you want one comic book nerd, you need someone who likes science, someone who likes history.
Yep.
Somebody, your pop culture person.
And you want to have multiple ways, I think, for the players to feel like I could get something out of this. Even if it's a small something, even if it's just bragging rights of, hey, I won something.
Recently, I was talking to somebody who went bowling for the first time in a long time, and I thought about you, and I thought about your bowling ball,
Mother
that you
Tucker.
had. And I was saying to myself, I'm surprised that I never joined a bowling league. I've got the physique for it, certainly.
You say yes to a lot of things, so that
I do.
makes me think that no one has ever invited you.
I don't think I've ever been approached by someone saying, do you want to join the league? I think partially the problem is that no one wants you to join their team, but they would like another team in the league.
How much of that do you think is just your love for that 1950s aesthetic?
All of it. I just want the shirt. I want to get JJ embroidered on a bowling shirt. I want to come up with a clever name for us, like the gutter guys or something like that.
That sounds like you just lose.
Yeah, why not? But we're there for. In fact, we're gutter guys.
That's like a baseball team being called foul ball.
The gutter guys. Our slogan would be, "We're here for the fun." And win or lose, it doesn't matter. Let me tell you about something that happened in my house recently. My wife got a bird feeder that has a camera built into it, like a Wi-Fi camera.
Oh, I've been looking at those. Those look cool.
Yeah, I mean, this one's really nice. It's got a solar panel that charges the internal battery. The quality is exceptional. We've been arguing about where to put it because I said, if we put it in our backyard, and she wants to put it like on the fence line, she wants to attach it to a tree. And I said, we can't have a camera that faces our neighbors. We just can't.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't want a camera facing at like any of the windows in my house from a neighbor's house.
Yeah.
So I built these. I have you seen a sail shade? Have you ever heard of a sail shade?
No.
So it's a huge piece of like very thin tarp-like fabric. And it's
JJ's a tired boy.
I'm a tired boy. In fact, I was up until 3:30 yesterday.
Goodness.
And we're recording this in the morning, and so I want to skip bingo and take a nap is what I want. So it's this long piece of fabric that's kind of shaped. It's an irregular shape, and the idea is that you connect it to 3 points, one of them being higher than the other 2 points, and it creates a huge shade. So like it's for backyards that, you know.
Got it. Okay.
And what's nice is it doesn't have to be permanent. You could put posts in. So what I did is I got these big planters, filled them with concrete, put a 4x4, a 10-foot 4x4 in it, and then let it set. So the 4x4 is held in place by the concrete in this planter. I'll put dirt in the planter and then something that vines so it grows up the 4x4. Maybe I'll even carve the 4x4. I don't know. We'll find out. But there's hooks on them so that I can have the sail shade, and then I can move it wherever I want because it's on these planter things. So that's the whole story.
Got it.
Jill's like, I need one of those. Now, she and I had a big fight the day I made these things, and she did not help me make them. And it was very frustrating, and I was very angry the whole time that I was making them all by myself. And I was like, I don't want to give you one of these. And then she's like, where are you going to put those? And like, they look pretty awful when it's just those things standing there. And
But she decided she needed one for the bird cam?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I don't want to give you one for my bird cam. I just don't think that you deserve it.
She doesn't need a big one for a bird cam.
You know the story of the little red hen?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it on this podcast. This is a little red hen situation. She didn't help me make the stand. She commented on how ugly the stand was. She didn't help me move the stand, and now she wants it? I don't think so. The solar eclipse is coming up, and the path of totality goes through Austin, Texas, right?
Why does that sound so ominous when you say it in
Because-
this conversation?
Because
I'm having a fight with my wife. But the solar
it's
eclipse is coming.
perfect time to murder. Dolores Claiborne
The
style.
totality goes through Texas.
I had a guy on the show the other day, and he was telling us that they've declared a state of emergency in like 6 counties in Texas because they're expecting over 1 million people to come.
Oh.
And
sure.
they're expecting gas and food shortages because of this.
That's
So,
wild. That's wild.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
And also they said the other thing is, my God, all of these people who come down there are just going to be on all these roads that don't normally have a lot of people in it. Is it some ASMR?
Yeah.
Some pouring?
Yeah.
Why haven't we done an ASMR episode yet?
Because I think that's outside our reach.
You know what I think the sound is of our ASMR is the sound of a cassette tape going in and out of a VCR, right? And like the sound of it like playing, but not what the audio is. I'm sure there's many people, but we could do something as well.
Speaking of which,
Yeah,
I'd
well,
like
look
to
at that
talk-
manual.
I'd like to talk about a little early birthday present I got myself that I had been saving up for a while. And I finally found it at the price I was looking for it on eBay. And it's the JVC HM-DH40000U VCR.
This was a cream of the crop in its day.
This, from what I can tell from the research I've done, is the VCR. This is the one. Like, if you want to own a VCR as like a hobbyist or whatever who's into tapes and archiving and stuff, this is the best one you can get.
So you're telling me that Hugh Hefner probably had this VCR?
I mean, if he appreciated the utmost quality.
He did. You know, he forced all the playmates to have movie night like every Thursday, and they went down and they watched an old movie, and then he'd give a talk. He had like note cards and would tell them why this movie was significant. And so I feel like he definitely was someone who appreciated picture quality. He's like, why can't they do more airbrushing in this? But that was just never going to happen.
That makes sense. The only thing that makes me think he probably didn't have this was by the time this came out, DVDs were the thing. VHS was on its way out. And so JVC, which was the company that invented VHS.
Really?
Yep. I think it's literally the Japanese Victor Corporation. Or Japanese Victor Company, I think is what JVC stands for. They invented VHS, and so in the ultra nerdy archivist world subculture on the internet, where we just post on forums and talk about things that no one else gives a shit about, right? JVC is reported to just give you the best quality, and here are the models that you should be looking for, and here's why you should look for them. So there's a whole guide even online from like 2009 that people still use. And so, yeah, these you can only find on eBay. They didn't make a ton of them because VHS was already well on its way out. This one in particular can do VHS, SVHS, and DVHS, which was their attempt to keep VHS alive.
Was that like a digital VHS?
Yep,
that
digital VHS. This one was also meant to, there was an early form of digital analog or a digital standard definition video that they tried to get, but it was it was being crushed by DVD at that point. Like no one was going in that direction.
Yeah, because I want my special features.
Right. This one can also do a bunch of things with like I don't know. It can do a bunch of things I'm probably not going to actually use it for. But the thing I am using it for is this is going to be, because besides collecting VHS, I am very, very just interested and always have been in archiving VHS, analog video, which I've done with all of our family movies, right? So like those aren't going to be destroyed over time. And I've always been interested in, well, what is technically the highest capture quality I could possibly get? Like what is the limits of the physics of the best I can get? And with this, I now have everything else I need to do that. The only thing that would ever replace the method that I use to archive VHS would be, and they're working on this, a group of people are working on this, would be actually being able to intercept the signal directly from the tape head before it goes through the conversion process into a composite signal, where you're literally just getting an RF signal and having a computer decode it. But anyways, so like what I want to try to do is I'm going to do some testing now where I capture uncompressed analog video, and then I'm going to try to up-res it using AI and then see what it looks like on YouTube. Because if you take standard definition footage now, put it on YouTube, it looks like complete hamburger, because YouTube goes, it says SD. We don't really care about this. We're going to give it the worst encoding path whatsoever. But if you can upload HD, then it's nice. So
here's a scenario, and you tell me what you do.
Okay.
You're uploading one of these, right? And so, like, you're monitoring
to YouTube.
Well, I should say first you're digitizing it, right?
Right.
So during the digitizing process, you've got a monitor going just so that you can see, like, you know, what the signal's coming out and what you see, and it kind of like goes staticky, and you hear like Tucker.
Yes,
and
Satan.
you see the silhouette of a mid-20s female.
Okay.
But she's definitely not well. Like, you can tell by the way, like, her body and her shoulders are. And you can't really make out anything because she's inside the distortion.
Okay.
So when something gets distorted, it's like she's overlaid behind the distortion.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
And you kind of shake it off as like, well, maybe I've just had too many sugar cookies today, right? And your blood sugar is all crazy.
Which
because
has happened.
Yeah, right? Because I know you love, like, the piles of frosting on those cookies.
And that's not even where I got it from this time.
Now, unfortunately, what happens the next time is you open a cassette and it burns you. Like, the cassette itself is hot, but it's not melting.
And this is connected to the voice and the woman in the
You don't know yet.
Oh,
you don't know,
okay, got
but
it.
you know that there's enough paranormal stuff happening.
Right.
And it's only happening with VHS. VHS is the VCR. But, like, you check the digital, like, playback that you've got, right? None of this stuff is there.
It specifically okay, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting too quickly. Keep going.
Okay. And then the final part of it, right, is that you come back and your VHS tapes have been reorganized.
What a bitch.
Well, here's the thing. You realize that she's trying to send you a message by using the first letter of each title to spell out a message.
Okay.
But the problem is that you keep getting distracted by having to reorganize.
Yeah.
And so you first see help, my name is, but then all of a sudden you're like, these X-Men tapes don't go here. And then you lose the rest of the message.
Got it.
You're pretty sure that there's a name in there somewhere, but something's happening. What do you do? What are you doing in that situation?
First, I'm going to troubleshoot.
Okay.
So let's see if I can isolate where this is coming from. So first of all, I'm going to find out, is this coming from the tape or is this coming from the VCR it's playing in, right? So if I have this VCR, this new one that I bought, I'm going to try a number of different tapes in it, right? And see, hey, is it doing it on all of these tapes? Or is it only doing it on that one original tape? Then I'm going to take that original tape and I'm going to put it in another VCR and be like, does it do it in this one? And if it does it in that one, then I'm like, okay, it's probably this tape. It's probably not the VCR. Then I have a haunted tape issue. And now at least I've isolated it. I know where the locus of the paranormal activity is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just need to remove that object from my home and bring it to a facility that could study it. I don't know if the Ghostbusters have ever built an institution because I haven't been.
You
following.
clearly haven't seen Frozen Empire.
I have not seen Frozen Empire yet, but I would assume that someone with that skill set. There's a lot of ghost hunter organizations in North Dakota.
My wife has ghost hunting equipment.
So I'd probably reach out to someone who's not connected to me, just to rule out any sort of familial curse, just in case it's my proximity to someone or my relations that has caused this haunting to happen.
Well, Tucker, you're on the right track, but you are not arriving at the correct conclusion. Yes, it is a particular tape.
Well, so the results of the troubleshooting is it's the tape.
No,
one particular
because
tape.
you see it on multiple tapes and multiple sources.
So it's not
only
one,
within your house.
It's only one. Oh, okay.
But here's the problem: it's one of the cases that you have has an old home movie in it that doesn't match the title of the film. Someone has recorded over a copy of Hoosiers. Okay, and what happens in that is it's a family birthday party, and you're watching the family celebrate, and the cake gets tipped over, and a fire ensues, and the family is trapped inside of this house, and the only person who doesn't get out is the good-looking, fun young aunt who actually throws a dog out the window to save the dog, but she perishes. Somehow the camera's able to record this the whole time, and the tape survives and it's one of those old-fashioned VHS clunkers, those cameras. And so at one point the family just accidentally put it into the Hoosiers case with Gene Hackman on the cover. And at one point, they decided to get rid of their VHS collection, and it went to several different thrift stores. It moved around quite a bit, and including one place where someone purchased it, saw that it was not Hoosiers, brought it back, and complained, and so they just took it. But they didn't care at the thrift store, so they just put it right back on the shelf. And now that tape is in your house, but it's not necessarily the tapes that you're playing. This tape is emanating the spirit of this woman.
Yes.
And what she needs your help with specifically is you have a neighbor who's doing all of these rituals all the time, and they're playing with fire, literally and figuratively.
Right.
And so she's trying to warn you so that the neighbors don't befall the same tragic situation she did. And also, she thinks you're attractive.
Excellent. Well, this is lining up for me.
It really is.
So you're asking what I would do?
Yeah. So now that you have that information, what do you do with your non-Hoosiers tape?
Well, if I'm worried about a fire hazard, I'm going to check the electrical grounding of the house first and do some troubleshooting there. So
That's a good answer.
Right. So I'm going to go. I'm actually planning on doing this today, anyways. I'm going to go to Menards after this and try to find a plug-in to see if I'm effectively grounded and everything. Because in the case of a spectral infestation, they're going to go for the wiring first, and I think that's probably going to be my weakest source of being vulnerable to attack.
Side note: what is it just in general pre-Spectre? Do you think are you really going to Menards to get a grounding?
I am
kit?
actually going to do that today. Yeah.
Why are you concerned about your grounding?
I've long suspected that there might be a grounding issue in the house, and I've had a couple of pieces of electronics get fried, plugged into the wall. And so I right now I own a really nice APC surge protector that has a light that says bad ground on it, and that's illuminated. And I've always just wanted to go, well, I mean, maybe I can just go around. And the idea then is that if you have even faulty grounding in your house, you can just have an electrician then come and do an inspection and fix it for you. It becomes a fire hazard if you have it. This house I think it was built with masking tape. I mean, everything was just sort of it's a wall, put it up, So I wouldn't be surprised to find that there might be faulty grounding somewhere.
Or just no grounding.
Or no grounding whatsoever, even though it's got 3-plug, prongs and stuff like that. So, and it concerns me when I've got a really expensive piece of equipment that I just bought. I think my old TV fell victim to it because a bunch of its LEDs suddenly burnt out once after a spike. And so I want to test that out and just try to go, does the house itself have grounding issues? Because if it does, that needs to get fixed. And then from there, as I work on like all of my hobby projects that are all media related, they all require a lot of electricity and a lot of equipment. I think of all the equipment that's in my workflow for analog archival, that's about $1,500 worth of stuff that's there, and I want to protect it because they don't make them anymore. So I just want to like protect myself from that. That's why I'm going to go and test all the electricity.
That's interesting.
Right.
I guess I never would have thought about that, but yeah, like if there's no grounding period in
Right.
Except for maybe like the main fuse box, it's not fuses, right? Like it's actual like breakers, right? Okay.
Yeah. It's breakers. And I mean, it's a house that's slab on grade.
Mhm.
So if it doesn't have a basement where the grounding would be probably being installed, that means it's installed probably just somewhere up and outside the house, maybe, or somewhere that's more accessible.
Mhm.
But that has not been tended to, right? So it could be totally free, or it could just be non-existent. We'll find out.
Interesting.
Right.
And at one point there's a hot tub there, so there's a major power draw. At your house.
That's
right?
true. That's true. I've never even thought about that before. I'd be interested to see what are all the outlets rated for?
Yeah,
You
right?
know?
Uh-huh.
Like, what is everything able to do?
You have GFI outlets in your bathroom and kitchen, right?
Those are the ones with the
Yep.
Yep.
They have the trip breaker on them.
almost all of the outlets have that, and they trip a lot. And they trip a lot when I'm plugging in more things, right? And so, I mean, I haven't been overdoing it, but there's definitely I've had trouble with going, man, I really have to space out the electronics here because I'm overriding this in some way. So I just think something's up.
At our old house, I had to eventually like figure out, okay, what outlets are on what breaker.
Yep.
Because like taking our living room, right? So in our living room, I would be maxing out a breaker because I have a TV, like maybe 3 gaming systems at that time, and not all were used at once. But then I had an HDMI splitter and blah, blah, blah. And they all take power, right?
Yep.
Yeah. My modem, and so which is on all the time, and so eventually I had to figure out, okay, where do all the outlets in this room? Because if this wall is all the same, I'm not going to plug anything else on this wall because I'm
Right.
going to concentrate on letting this be the main draw.
Yep.
The electricity in that house was bonkers. Like it was all over the place,
Yeah.
everywhere. By the way, do you know that those GFI outlets go bad?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's like every 7 years you're supposed to replace those outlets completely so that they are giving you what you want.
I think it's even recommended at this point every 5 years you just have an electrician inspect your system.
Right,
Just
you
go-
should.
Just
You
go,
should.
hey, how is it doing?
We're having a radon mitigation system put into our house. Familiar with radon?
Yep.
You're lucky. So your house slab on grade, you don't have to worry about radon because it can't come up through the basement.
See, that's what what I was wondering though is it just I don't have to worry about it as much because I don't have as much surface area attached to the ground, or is it no? You don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah, so radon
You really have
naturally,
to be down to get into it.
Radon naturally is like it's seeping in through your basement in the like lowest parts of it, the cracks, the holes in the ground, and
I'll say it. I so far I don't miss having a basement.
really,
I really don't.
this is crazy because you were the basement king for a long time. You had
Right.
your hot pipe. You had
Yep.
all your stuff down in the basement when we lived together.
Yeah, but I mean it's really just hey, it's a room, right? It's a space to go to, but do I really need one in the ground?
Hey, dude, something hits different about a basement.
I
when I go watch a
agree.
scary movie in the basement, like it hits different than the living room, right?
I agree. I understand.
We have a big TV. For my birthday, Jill got me a big TV. Big, huge. It's massive.
biggest TV.
It's the
How big
huge
is it?
TV. It's 85 inches.
Woo!
Yeah.
What's the brand?
LG.
Okay.
And so the remote has like the same technology that a Wiimote has, and so I can use it like as a cursor, like
Nice.
for magic. I have been here's the thing: what people don't understand and what you look for, like for me, at least for me in a TV, is I want rich, dark colors, right? Rich blacks and things like that. this is the best TV I've ever had. Like, it doesn't give that false, like, kind of grayish, overtint. It is beautiful. And I also upgraded all of like my HDMI cables to be the high speed, high end HDMI. I'm running everything I can off of like 4K.
Lovely.
It's just like playing video games on it, like playing Kingdom Hearts, which came out in 2001.
What kind of a refresh rate does it have? 120?
Oh my
True
God.
120?
Yes. Yeah. And it's great. The only downside is LG's got some real crap like, hey, it's motion plus blah, 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 which I don't know how anybody wants that.
You just got to turn all that off.
I did, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that every time you plug something new in, it reverts back to it because it reads what it is and tells you. So like when I plugged in my PS5, it automatically said PlayStation 5 console. And so you just have to go through that. And then when I'm playing the PS5 versus when I'm watching like a Blu-ray on it, like it's like, hey, you're doing something different with your PS5. You probably want this. And so it's a small headache that I've had to deal with a couple of times, but it's beautiful. This TV is amazing. I love it. What I'm getting at is I can't watch anything with nudity in my living room because you can see it from 3 blocks away. And I got those big picture windows. And so if people are walking their dogs and I happen to be watching Game of Thrones, they're going to be like, oh my. Oh.
Honey, you draw the curtains.
And sometimes you forget. I was watching a movie that did not age well called Just One of the Guys from the 1980s, starring Joyce Heiser. And the premise is that she wants to be the editor of her school newspaper, and her journalism teacher says, no, you're just not there yet. And he gives it to a boy. And she thinks it's because he is sexist and only thinks that a boy could do this because he recommends like, why don't you do like a piece on makeup? And she's like, no, I can do investigative journalism. So she goes to a rival school across town, but goes to it as a boy. And she learns right off the bat that it's hard to be a boy, right? Like, not all the boys are nice and welcoming to each other. She also had to cut her hair, and so her college boyfriend's mad about this. And guess what? She falls in love with the guy who thinks they're best friends. They're like best buds, right? So
whackity schmackity do.
And like the theme song to this movie, which plays while she's she's in a bikini walking to the pool, is like, just one of the guys, boom, 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 boom. Just one of the guys, boom, 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 boom. My friends are guys, boom, boom, boom. It is, I mean, it's, and so the cover art for this, if you ever happen to see it while VHS hunting, Joyce is in a locker room and she's got a towel around her waist, but she's not wearing anything on top, but she's got 2 football helmets that she's holding over her chest while there's other guys like in it. And it says just one of the guys.
And this is one you'd like for your collection?
No.
Because I'm not going to buy it myself.
No. I'm saying like, should you happen to see it?
I will go, that is the film that
right.
JJ mentioned.
Or if you walk into someone's office and they've got a framed copy of the poster, like the one sheet from its theatrical release, don't do business with that person.
Right next to it, they've got Kippendorf's Tribe.
Right, yeah, there you go. A Song of the South that they imported. So what I'm getting at is I'm watching this the other day being like, boy, this movie just did not age well. And it's rated PG-13, but at the very end, someone pushes her into a lake or like a pool at prom. And so she confronts the guy that she loves, and she's like, and her name is Terry, which works on both sides, right? And she's like, Kip, I love you. And he's like, what, Terry, I'm not gay. And she's like, no. And she rips open her like tuxedo shirt, and she shows off the upper part of her body, and it lasts for what feels like an eternity. And then like Kip's is like, what the hell are those? And just because I know a lot of people won't watch, it turns out Kip loves her as well. But there's a lot of other questions that are raised by that. A lot of questions. Also, the fact that she was frauding this school, So it's just one of the guys. And you know what? Someone read the first 2 pages of that script in Hollywood, and they're like, hot damn. Let's get this into production right away.
Okay, so JQ Hollywood calls you up, JJ, and says, listen, This is your one shot to show us what you've got, JJ Gordon.
Okay.
You are greenlit to do a direct streaming sequel series based off of this film. All right, you're the showrunner. You've got the budget you need.
Who's coming back from the original
cast? If this
cast?
fails, you will never work in this town again.
Understood. Who's any original cast returning?
You tell us, Mr. Showrunner. What is your vision?
Okay.
This lives or dies by you.
Okay, so my plan is this. I'm going to not make it a sequel, but like a reboot. Okay?
Okay.
So what it is it's an all-girls Catholic school, okay? And it's set in the 1980s because then you can get away with more stuff. And
that's all you have to do is
just set it in the 80s. And they're like, well, it was a different time, you know? And here's the thing. One of the nuns is like, ugh, she's acting just like one of the guys. And then, like, the credits start going at the very beginning. But it turns out that this has nothing to do with her wanting to be, you know, taken seriously as a woman. And to be taken seriously as a woman, you have to be a guy. It turns out this is about Reagan-era economics and the greed. And so she realizes that by being one of the quote-unquote guys, she has to Wolf of Wall Street, like, you know, herself, and she's not going to do that. Instead, what she's going to do is she's going to become the best, and I mean the best baton twirler at the school and win a big prize money so they can buy a new boiler. Think Netflix will take that? I mean, probably.
Listen, you've already been greenlit, so.
That's right, I have.
Yeah.
There you go.
The train is leaving the station. You're just telling us where the tracks are.
Do I get to dictate how long the episodes are?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing.
This lives or dies by your aesthetic.
Every episode is like an hour and 10 minutes, so it makes it slightly inconvenient to watch. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. The name of my streaming series wouldn't be called Just One of the Guys. It would be just one of the ghouls, because there's also a ghost girl in this too. Those things make sense.